And welcome to TNM Coaching Unplugged and Zoran Todorovic Interconnected podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, for listening to our podcast, and for commenting, liking, subscribing. There's a lot of new, fresh energy, and we're super grateful to our audience for following us. And today we have a wonderful conversation that's dedicated to coaches and mastery of coaching. How do we walk this path of mastery of coaching? How do we create lightbulb moments in our coaching conversations? How do we create a breakthrough coaching moment when we provide the model, methods, resources, and exercises to help our client create sustainable shifts in their perspective, in their behavior? And then how do we move them to the true, deeper transformation that we call mastery of coaching? And today we have a guest who showed up on our podcast a few times, and you love her. Marcia Reynolds is joining us. I'm just going to do a quick introduction to Marcia, even though a lot of you know Marcia, from different podcasts, lives, blogs. She's really active and present within our coaching community. She wrote many books on coaching, from Coaching the Person, Not the Problem, to Outsmart Your Brain, to wonderful book that I love, even though I'm not a woman, Wonder Woman as well, to Discomfort Zone, which is a really beautiful book for leaders as well to read about. She has been featured in Harvard Management Review, Fast Company, CEO World, CNN.com, Psychology Today, Wall Street Journal, and so on and so forth. She is Master Certified Coach and Trainer and Facilitator. She has worked for more than 43 countries around the world with top clients, including Mask, American Express, AT&T, Ernst & Young, and so on and so forth. Marcia, welcome.
Thank you. It's always fun about myself.
You're just about, to launch a new book next year, right?
Yes. Excited. I always say I'm not going to write another book, but then something comes up and I have to write about that. So, yeah.
So what inspires you in your journey of being a writer and also being a coach, but being a writer, what inspires you? What motivates you to come up with a new body of work?
It's exactly what I just said, is that I see over and over and over what's missing. So like whether it's coaching or like discomfort zone with leaders, it's like that not understanding the power of discomfort and afraid that if I make someone uncomfortable, they'll judge me. But yet that is the moment that we help them to expand and grow. So that was missing. In Coach the Person, it's like, okay, people aren't quite getting what it is that our mission, what we're trying to do in the coaching process, in being thinking partners and helping people to think more broadly about themselves and the world. So I had to write about that. And then I thought I was done, but then I've been teaching this breakthrough coaching program and for coaching.com, and they kept asking me to do, can you do a certification? Can you do advanced? And I have to have new material, and actually, Zoran, I started working for a few months, having dialogue sessions with this guy, an author named Alan Briskin, who actually wrote the book in the 90s, early 90s, The Stirring of the Soul in the Workplace.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, he was way ahead of his time, and now he's been writing about collective wisdom. And I said, I have to bring collective wisdom to coaches. So he set me on this journey of really understanding that, how we use our energy and what are we really listening for that can help people that we both go on a journey together, where they're really expanding, having those insights about themselves of who I am in this moment. And, I don't even have to have them envision the future. They can see what's possible and what courage they need to take the lead on their own. So it's like, okay, I got to put this together into a book, to help coaches. Because again, to understand our mission, what it is we're here for in expanding consciousness, uplifting spirit, not just solving problems. So I'm very passionate about it. Yeah.
And a lot of the people are talking about breakthrough coaching. This is a term that is kind of used broadly within the coaching community. And me personally, I never, I use it myself, but we never actually define what is that breakthrough moment and what creates this light bulb aha moment within the coaching conversation that is prompting people that we coach to truly transform from inside out. So in your opinion, what happened while you were writing, researching, reflecting back on your wisdom and experience around coaching? What is it that creates this breakthrough moment?
Zoran, it was actually after I turned in my manuscript for breakthrough coaching that I got a piece of research that was, to me, hit it right on the mark. And I begged to put this into the book. So I got it in just into the wire, where the study was done, actually in Spain, last year. And excuse me, I'm petting my cat and she's shedding. So I've got cat hair all over. So
love that a pet is present. Pet is present to share the wisdom that we don't even know we have.
Right. Well, the study it was just 16 people, but they put brain monitors on them, and they all spent a little time interviewing them to discover what's one big challenge you'd really like to move forward on, like we would in coaching. And first, they put them all separately in a room, quiet, nice music where they could think about their situation on their own. So it was solitary processing. And the brain activity was a little bit. And the ideas that came up at the end were a few. So then they gave them all a mentor, someone trained to listen, but then to offer advice and their own experiences. And the brain activity was about the same. The telling, and even telling ourselves kind of pacifies the brain. So it moved it, some of it a little bit more than others. And at the end, they had a few ideas. And then the third, they gave him a coach. And a coach trained in reflective inquiry, where they used a lot of sharing back what I hear, what I see, and then asking questions. And the brain activity went like this. And then it was crazy all over the place. And the creative insights that they got and the possibilities, the ideas were off the chart. So they went in and they then tried to define this scientifically. And they said, what I said in my past research is we're operating with the creative brain when we coach, that offering things back and getting them to see associations and beyond the frames that they're holding, that's the breakthrough. It breaks through the frames. It breaks through what we thought, what we were holding on to from the past, so we wouldn't have to leap into the future. The shoulds we think we have to live by that are keeping us from our dreams, the contradictions in our logic, that they could see that, and it breaks through and it allows the creative sparks, it's creative insights that's happening in coaching. And it's those creative insights, not only do they bring up new possibilities of what I now can do and who I can be, but I feel more confident because it's like, wow, yeah, I see that. And so the confidence is almost automatic, because we know from teaching that even when people say, this is awesome, I'm going to go try, as soon as it's uncomfortable, they go back to old behavior. Mm-hmm. But in coaching, because it came from them, the commitment to action, even when it's uncomfortable or I may make mistakes, is far more powerful. So that's the breakthrough that we're aiming to create in coaching. And then, you and I then teach. Then how do you do this?
Exactly. How do you do that? Of course, I love that you kind of highlighted the study, and also that the insight, the creativity that comes up from the coaching conversation, especially inquiry, creates that inner understanding. So from within, insight, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's happening up here. Not here, up here.
Like two, like a pirate.
Yeah.
So when people have this insight, you said automatically the courage comes to action, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's what even with the study said, that the elements of confidence and commitment that we're looking, that's important for sustainable change. And that's what they referred to it as, sustainable change. And I've been researching since the late 1980s how do we create sustainable change? Because, I was got a master's in education. I was trying to figure out how to do my training better. And I kept doing more and more research and trying things and, adding the participation in the games and all of that. But there was still something missing in the sustainability of the change, of the learning. They learn in the moment and they may adapt what they do now, who they are now, to what it is they're learning. But the shift of really changing, I'm not just the brand new learner that doesn't know anything. I'm the expert that's a contributor. That shift, even, that as soon as I shift who I think I am, I commit to doing things differently.
I love that. I just want the audience to listen that sync. When I shift who do I think I am, then the whole transformation starts by itself. The contributor versus somebody who has a big problem to resolve, or something that they have to tackle, or something that is in front of them is so difficult to create. This is mostly understanding that they're contributing to themselves and everybody else around them.
Right. When I coach a leader who's struggling with their team, or they're maybe even connecting with their leadership team, which is often the problem, the managing sideways thing, I don't ask, what should you do? I say, define leadership for me. What's leadership to you? How would you define you as a leader? Well, what do you think the people around you, how do you think they define leader? Let's take a look at that gap. And often just that, and then looking at what is their willingness to adapt to what is what people are needing from them at that moment. And it's not just how I will lead my meeting differently, because if I don't shift who I am in that moment, again, as soon as I get stressed, I revert back to old behavior. But if I really go in that I am a collaborator, leader, I am an inspirer, so like even before I found coaching, the time I most remember from my boss was I was complaining because I was on the leadership team and we were trying to make a big change in the company, change the culture and all this. And I was telling them what needs to happen. And there was just resistance or silence. So I went to my boss. I said, they just don't get it. I'm so frustrated. And he said, you've been a fighter all of your career. You fought your way to the top, but maybe you don't have to fight anymore. So is there a way that you could, instead of forcing people to do what you want, that you could inspire them to see what you see? And it wasn't just the action, Zoran. It's like when he said that, I'm like, oh, right. I define myself as warrior. But I'm also a storyteller and an inspirer. I love to inspire people by a vision and vision future, to tell stories that open their heart to what can be done and get them to tell their stories. I could be that person. So it wasn't just that I would do it differently in the meeting, but I would show up differently in the meeting as a visionary, inspirer, storyteller. Changed it completely. Then they were like, oh yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Is that the essence, the methodology that some coaches will apply when we use this language coaching, the who, not the what? Because for me also, towards mastering coaching, a lot of the people get confused with this distinction, coaching who versus coaching what. Are we talking about that right now, right?
Yeah. But it has to be in context, and I think that's what a lot of coaches don't understand. I don't get into the who until we kind of know what's the situation, so tell me what's been going on in your point of view, and then once we define that, then I can say, so, okay, in this situation, who are you? How are you showing up? If you're a leader, define yourself, give it an adjective. What kind of leader are you being? And then as we get into what it is that they want to shift or change and have it look differently, then I may ask, so who can you become in order to create that? When you see this picture, who are you being?
Mm.
So again, it has to be in context of either the problem or the desired outcome. Otherwise, it's just a crazy question that they don't know what you're talking about.
Who are you?
Who am I? Don't you know who I am?
That's the reason why I'm asking you, because a lot of the coaches that I mentor sometimes, they know the importance of it, right? They know it,
But they don't know how to do it.
but they don't know how to do it. So
No, I really address that in the book, creating the outcome and then inserting the who, and how we do that is in the Breakthrough Coaching book, the new book. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then the identity shifts as well, right? When we start talking about who, then the identity, the new identity is being born.
Absolutely. Right. You cannot create a new reality out here if you don't create a new reality in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can't take your old self into it. Not going to work.
Is it true that everything starts from within, from your perspective of coaching people? Is it true that, whatever, exactly as you said, in order for you to create new reality, you have to create new identity. For your new identity, you have to show up being different. It has to start within. Is that true when it comes to your perception of coaching?
Well, that's interesting because so many people over the past few years have asked, what do you mean coaching the person? So how can, I have had a couple of books now where people trashed me and my ideas are like, you have to coach the problem. And I've never said the problem goes away. It's who you are within this problem, So they always like to take pot shots at you.
Yeah, of course. The innovation always, like when you take people into new uncharted territories, there's always resistance. We know that when it comes to change and breakthrough and something fresh, it's, especially if you invested in our body work, it can be challenging. But
but let me just answer that real quickly. I'm coaching the person in front of me. I'm not coaching something. It's other people. So coaching to me is let me help them see themselves in this situation differently, because then they see what else they can do on their own. And so when you say within, it's both our thinking and who, what's happening here, my emotions, my desires, my fears, and that come from here. So all of that, the holistic person is who I'm coaching to move beyond where they are today to start moving forward to what it is they want to create. So is it always in here? Yeah. In coaching. Something else might be something else,
Yeah. I'm just going to ask you an unrelated question that might be related. What creates stuckness in people's life when people come to you and they're stuck?
Stuckness.
Yes. What creates stuckness and stickiness in people's life from your perspective?
One of our greatest fears is letting go of who we think we are and what we believed in the past, that if we let go, there's a moment of dread because of the uncertainty before we start to create something new. William Bridges called it the fog of fear. So that fear, the greater that is, if I let go of who I was before, what I did before, what I called myself, what I believed, then I have to jump into the abyss. And that's really scary. And so I stay stuck. That that there's a saying about we prefer that misery of certainty of the past than the misery of the uncertainty of the unknown. So we'd rather stay stuck, knowing it doesn't serve us, that it's holding us back, than to step into what we don't know, what will happen, as if we ever knew what's going to happen tomorrow, So when we coach, we help people we kind of hold their hand. And as let's jump together. And that's what's needed. And it's very difficult to unstick yourself. You will find the rationalizations for staying stuck. So you need someone outside of you, what the neuroscientists call an external thought disruptor, to start to see how I'm really holding myself back. That fear of uncertainty, that fear of letting go is how it's not serving me and keeping me from the joy and gratitude of what will come forth. And it's always going to turn out different than we thought. You have to don't make hope an expectation. Hope is it's going to turn out good. Not necessarily it's going to turn out exactly like this, because then we get disappointed when we give up. So I hope that what comes forth is going to really teach me, and it'll be the best thing. And then maybe I'll have courage, which is always moving with fear.
Tell me a little bit about that, a little bit more. Just let's unpack it. How is courage moving with fear? Is it understanding your fear, appreciating your fear, knowing that your fear is your teacher? What is your take on how do we move courageously with fear, alongside with fear?
We do ourselves a disservice when we say, well, I'm going to just get rid of my fears. Because no, your brain's prime directive is to keep you safe. So fear is a primal survival emotion. Without fear, it's difficult for me to survive. But actually, hope comes from fear. So fear is really a significant thing. So to say, oh, look, fear, there you are. I see you. And I know this is what I want to do, so come with me. So I'm not going to make you bad. I just know you're there to protect me, but I want to grow. And it's going to be a little uncomfortable. And it may even hurt. So it's okay, fear. I know that that's there, but I want to grow, so I want to move forward anyway. So courage is moving with fear, not in spite of fear, but with fear.
Yeah, I use that analogy a lot. Is when I coach, that I see that fear, it's a trusted ally and a partner, and should be included in the mix of conversation, because a lot of the personal development movement is using the language overcoming fear, leaving fear behind, letting go of the fear, releasing the fear. And I feel that's an unrealistic expectation, because our wiring is different. As you said, the prime directive, it's safety, right? The fear is there to protect us. So if you exclude that part, how can we then, you know what I mean? So it's interesting that we're introducing the new language that I would really love audience to listen to, that you're moving alongside, and it never disappears, even if it's uncomfortable or painful, right? Part of it.
Part of it, fear, anger, fight. So we all have that.
So did anybody ever manage to coach you through the breakthrough?
Harriet.
Harriet. Okay, tell me about that.
So, Harriet, for years was my coach as well as my colleague, so Harriet Simon Salinger, is one of the coaches. I've been to LA to see her 3 times this year. She'll be turning 91 next month. Wow. Yeah, and she barely gets out of the house, so I just go and I am with her. She's such a wise woman, but she was the one that could always hear so deeply in just a minute of what it was that was, that barrier that I was creating that was holding me back. And all she had to say is one thing. Like I was talking to her once about, I just don't feel like getting up. I'm just kind of down and I don't have motivation and this is weird. And she said, oh, so what was it that you expected to happen right now that didn't? And I went, oh. And I remembered about a promise I had made myself a year before, that this would happen in a year. She said, so are you grieving that? And I went, wow. That's what it is, I'm grieving. And it was like, I could laugh almost. And I said, I'm going to go let myself grieve. But she could hear it, always. So whenever I had anything, and sometimes I hated what she said.
You didn't want to hear.
Exactly. So yeah, she was always there for me, and now I want to be there.
And is that the mastery of coaching in your definition, our ability to listen so profoundly and deeply that we will ping one reflective statement or one mirroring back to the client to ask one question like what she asked me right now, and what is that you promised to yourself that is not happening right now? Is that mastery for you?
Yeah, that the more I can, and I call it unself, and I'm sure you've heard that, just take myself out of it. There's that paradox that I want to help you think, but I'm not thinking. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking in, I receive what you give me and I offer it back without interpretation. And that's the mastery, to know the difference between what's truly intuition and interpretation. But clearly I offer it back because you gave it to me. You gave it to me in your expression, in your words. And if it's wrong, that's great, because you're going to tell me what it really is. Because usually when they say, oh, God, that's not it, it wasn't that I said it wrong. It was that they've been saying it and they now realize what they've been telling themselves is not right. So the more you can just cleanly receive and offer back concisely, that's something
that you're passionate about.
Yes. Direct, concise, no excuses, no storytelling, no explaining yourself. Just say it. And I know that I'm born that way, but you can learn it.
Yeah. We don't need to use too much words or too many words to be able to express it. It can just be landed.
You can be wrong. Who cares?
Exactly. Who cares? And, they gave you that to begin with. And as you beautifully said, you reflect back and they say, that's not it. There is something else that will arrive. But I'm curious about one last thing here. What is the difference for you between intuition and our interpretation? When somebody gives us something as a context of the coaching conversation, and then you say it's very important for us to distinguish between those two.
Well, the craziest thing is when people ask me after a demo, so what were you thinking at the moment you said that? I'm like, I wasn't thinking. I don't remember. And, and I don't think while I coach, and so I receive and I offer back. I appreciate what they're saying. I don't judge it. So a lot of it is taking out judgment. Mm-hmm. And I don't. The only times I'll paraphrase is when they've flooded me with ideas, and then I need to drill it down to a few. Then I might say it sounds like, or it sounds as if, and I'll offer a paraphrase, and I could be right or wrong. But I'm just giving back to them what they gave me. If I try to add something to it, like somebody says, oh, I'm just so exhausted with what's going on. And I heard a coach say, wow, it sounds like you really want some balance in your life. No, the client didn't say that. You said that. And if you said that to me, I'd get mad. No, I am not a balanced person and I'm okay with it. That the person just said, I'm exhausted. Be curious. So what does exhausted mean? Are you just tired with what you're doing, or you're just overwhelmed? Tell me what that means to you. So I may use the word overwhelmed, but only because I'm curious as to what they really mean. And so the more I can pull myself and my thinking out of it, the more I can give it back. And certainly never think I know what's right for the person. I don't know what's right for them. So.
Yeah, but that's a beautiful thing when you take yourself, your ego, so to say, and you don't know what's right for them. They know what's right. But genuinely, we need to believe that. I catch myself sometimes thinking that I know what's right and what's wrong. If I was to tell you right now, I would tell you exactly what you need to do. it's a challenging skill to master because somehow we pulled into, that offering, that value and adding. But if you can be humble enough to know that they know and we don't, and be curious enough to
trust
process.
Trust
the process. Exactly. I was on the other podcast and I was actually teaching and I kept on saying, trust the coaching process. Coaching process in itself will deliver the work. If you just allow the process to work.
They surprise you, don't they? You're sitting there going, this is going nowhere. This is going nowhere. They get it.
Yeah. Suddenly, the light bulb, as you said, the light bulb will lit. So we have to trust the process and also don't bypass the transformation will happen instantaneously. I think that one of the challenges that I'm seeing for the coaching community is that due to the digitalization of everything and the fast pace of our life, and we believe that we are able to transform ourselves very, very quickly within one conversation, within one session. Sometimes it happens, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes we do need time.
Absolutely. And sometimes, when they say, wow, they have a new awareness, but they can't quite articulate it. And, it has to be articulated, made tangible in order for it to stick. But sometimes we just have to let them go. I still say, so what does thinking about it look like? So there's a commitment to at least that, to, when are they going to clear the time? What do they need to do? But oftentimes that moment, that aha, that creative insight comes after the session. So it's in between the coaching sessions. As their brain has to percolate a little bit, it's like, wow, I don't know. That doesn't compute. I have to create something new. That could take some time.
It doesn't compute. That to take something new. I love it. All right, Marcia, beautiful, beautiful. So the book is coming out end of January, mid-January?
January 30th. Yeah, help me get the word out. Hit number 1.
Absolutely. Breakthrough coaching, creating the light bulb moments in your coaching conversation by Marcia. It's coming January 30th. We're going to have a big celebration. Share it with everybody. This is the book to have. Can they pre-order on Amazon.com now?
They can. In fact, Kindle has already hit a couple of times number 1 new book. Because people around the world are ordering the Kindle, so they can get it right away because it always takes a little longer. And then hopefully they'll buy the hard copy. And coach the persons in 7 languages. We're hoping that the same thing happens with breakthrough coaching.
Absolutely. Make sure to have this book. This is the book to have in 2024 if you want to enrich yourself as a coach, yourself as a person. You don't need to even coach. If you're listening to this from TNM Live and you're thinking about what can I give to myself for the 2024, this is one of these books that will really help you as well, and it will help coaches walk towards the path of mastery of coaching. So Marcia, thank you so much for being such an inspiration. Any last thought that you would love to share to leave the audience with?
At this time in our lives, and yes, we've had chaos over the forever.
It seems like.
But it's just so important that we know that in the moment, we don't know what's going to happen. We may all blow each other up. But in right now, to keep people's spirit flowing and to be present to, the great gifts that are right in front of us, coaching keeps us present and keeps us alive to this wonderful world we're really living in. And so I just honor all coaches for taking it on to be a coach, even if you're just someone who uses coaching skills as a leader, as a parent, in whatever it is you're doing. This is such an important time for us to work at that level with people.
Mm-hmm. To shine, to elevate collective, to give to yourself, to give to everybody else. I think it's absolutely important calling for all of us. Thank you, Marcia, and thank you everybody else for tuning in and listening to this podcast. As always, we're grateful for your energy, for your time, and we hope that you have elevated your mind, elevated your soul and your heart to the next level and beyond by listening to TNM Coaching Unplugged. Bye for now. Thank you so much, Marcia, once again.
Thank you, Zoran.